Check, check. 1, 2. Salmon patties. I learned is the best sound check phrase. Salmon patties.
Salmon patties?
Salmon patties. It gets all the consonants and all the little whispers like salmon patties.
Salmon patties.
Yeah.
At first I thought you meant Sam and
salmon
patties.
patties.
And then I was like, oh, he means salmon patties.
Salmon patties, yeah.
That's disgusting. But I do like salmon a lot. Just
Yeah.
a patty version of it sounds kind of gross.
Yeah, we what is it? My old drummer from my band in Tennessee, like he's a sound engineer by trade, and so at all of our sound checks, he would always like just start shouting salmon patties into the microphones. It was always really fun.
So disturbing. I feel like that phrase would just haunt me. Salmon patties.
I mean, it's still haunting me now. So
clearly,
it's
made an
it's haunting me to
impression.
this day. Yeah,
Well, Michael Carnes, you wanna get into this thing?
absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely.
let's start the podcast, man. Thank you for coming on.
course.
It's been I feel like this has been a long time coming in a way.
I guess so. Well, you and I kind of got to know each other as just friends, you know, just dogs.
Just dogs, just
dogs.
homies.
Yeah.
Getting to know each other
Yeah.
at shows and everything
I know, running into each other at shows and
all
stuff.
the time.
Yeah.
I do feel like at any given show, there's a pretty solid chance I'm going to see you there taking photos.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got plenty to talk about.
Sure.
Kabute photos. We got all of your music. But why don't we start with Green Day, American Idiot, the
Oh
album
my
you
God.
brought from home.
I did, yeah.
Typically, people choose it from the collection, but I like when someone takes the initiative to bring their own album. So
Yeah.
what made you choose American Idiot, the classic Green Day album?
So I chose this because, you know, I feel like Green Day, since this album, has almost become a little bit of a meme, you know, a little bit.
That's, yes, I would say so.
Yeah, a little bit. But I think this album in particular, it came out in like 2004, and I think I was like 9 years old at the time. And I think the first time I heard the intro to the title track, I remember exactly where I was. I was like, my mom had taken me to work with her, and she had asked me to like download a bunch of songs for her to run to, like on a MP3 for her MP3 player. And the thing is, my mom, she's from the Philippines, and so she doesn't really understand a lot of just, I guess, the English language, you know. So English is not her first language, so she's just in for the vibe, you know.
Yeah.
And so she asked me to download this song, and I was like, all right, cool, whatever. Like, even in 2004, like I think there was always a way to pirate music, you know. And so I got this song, and then I was like, all right, I'm gonna listen to some of the songs that my mom asked me to download for her. And because she got it from a list on some magazine, it was like songs to run to, or something like that. And so like I got it, and first time I heard it, I was like, this is amazing. Like this is like the coolest, like highest energy thing out there. And at the time, you know, there's nothing really like it, you know, because I think something that's really cool with Green Day is like there's not a lot of lead guitar licks that, you know, like it's a pretty classic structure of like rhythm guitar, and then like when the lead guitar comes, it's usually like a solo or something. But in terms of like just rhythm guitar sounds, I think this album in particular still stacks up like even to today's like production standards. I think it's some of the best rhythm guitar sounds I've ever heard, like some of the best toms on drums that I've ever heard. And I think just the general vibe of, I guess, everything this album kind of represents in terms of like creating a permission structure to talk about things like mental health medication, like divorce, like politics, and all that stuff is very in vogue now. And it's not as avant-garde as it was back in like the early 2000s, you know, because it's like, you know, now you have all these like records where, you know, the term like I'm gonna be up here and play my sad songs is kind of a meme a little bit. Whereas like back then, you know, in 2004, like, you know, I think a lot of popular music was just very much like, let's just have a good time, you know. And whereas with this album, it was like, no, it's okay to like talk about bigger issues and everything, and it was definitely a lot more like, I guess, pearl clutching back then, like in the or like when like pop punk had its little bit of a revival in the early 2000s. Yeah,
dude, that's such a well thought out answer. I would have just been like, it rocks.
yeah, dude, the vibe's great.
Yeah. What's the big one on this album?
Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
Boulevard of Broken Dreams, but the one I was thinking of, Holiday. When I heard that as a child, was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard in my life. And I would like listen to it on the way to Little League games to get hyped up.
Dude, when those toms come in on that song, I'm like, dude, I'm ready to just run through a brick wall.
I've never listened to the whole album, but you've convinced me. So I think I might have to do that today on my drive.
Okay.
But yeah, American Idiot, that song is also great. I love Holiday. Mm-hmm. Boulevard of Broken Dreams, I remember having on my iPod, like my iPod Shuffle.
Yeah.
And I was listening to it, and I heard them say the word fuck.
Yeah.
And I was like 7 or 8.
Sure, yeah.
And I remember hearing it, and like I snitched on myself to my dad.
Man.
I was like, hey, I downloaded this, and it has a bad word in it. And he was like, oh, well, don't worry, we'll get the clean version. We never got the clean version.
Oh, right.
So yeah, I got away with it. It pays to tell the truth, everybody.
Yeah,
you get to listen to explicit songs. But Michael, let's get into your explicit songs. Do you have any explicit songs?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, you do?
I
Okay.
Do.
We just discussed you have over 50 songs, which I did not realize until I was doing my research for you.
It was like 50, 51.
Crazy.
You know,
I don't know how you have that many.
Yeah, it's just for the love of the game, you know.
For the love of the game. You've been doing this since 2017, right?
The solo thing, yeah.
The solo thing.
Yeah.
What were you doing before that?
I was in a punk rock band called the Rhinos, and so I'm originally from Knoxville, Tennessee.
Nice.
When I graduated high school, instead of going into a 4-year college, I decided to just take 4 years to get my associate's degree.
Cool.
and I started a band with my best friends at the time, and it started with like I put a song on SoundCloud because I was just figuring out how to like engineer songs, and so putting it on SoundCloud because putting songs on SoundCloud, there's almost no consequence. Like it's like there's no standard of like what should be on SoundCloud and what shouldn't be.
That's true.
And so I was like, man, if this sucks, it sucks, whatever. And had a best friend who he showed it to his neighbor, and his neighbor hit me up on Facebook, and he goes, dude, I heard this song, we're mutual friends with this one guy. And I was like, okay, cool. And then we hit it off, and then we started a band and I brought in two of my other friends, did that for 4 years. We broke up, and just like, that's just kind of what happens with bands sometimes, they break up. It wasn't amicable in the moment, but we were still tight. They were all groomsmen in my wedding,
Oh, cool.
And we're all, we're still talk. We're still in a group text. I'll send them some of my songs now and be like, hey, what do you think about this? And so we're still friendly. But when we were broken up, I was kind of like in this spot of, because when it came to songwriting, doing it in a band context was kind of the only thing that I really knew how to do it, with people. And, it was definitely being very emo and moping around the house because I was like, what do I do? I don't even know what to do with music anymore. And my sister had told me that she's like, why don't you just do a solo thing? Everybody and their mom knows that you're not going to stop doing this. So just do it, and so I did. And so I recorded an EP, had a friend take some photos for that, and tracked it in my room. And then I went to a friend's apartment to track some of the other stuff of it in like Johnson City. And from then on, it just kept going. And my first solo show was where I met my wife. So
that is wild.
Yeah. And so I figured, I guess I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
It's only been great from there. Yeah.
That's a sign from the universe. That's crazy. Yeah. Your first show ever. That's where you met your wife.
Yep. It was at a fundraiser in a barn. and like, okay. And I'm thinking, well, you know, you got to start somewhere, you know,
right,
like,
right.
And I'm like, all right. And I saw that one of my friends was hosting a fundraiser, and they put on Facebook, like, any musicians willing to play. And I'm like, well, you know, I guess I got to start. And I go, and my wife, my now wife, shout out Kayla, if you're watching,
shout out,
or if you're listening. And we were wearing like the same outfit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we were both wearing our black
light blue dress.
Yeah, yeah. We were both wearing our combat boots, black leather jacket, black skinny jeans, and a red top. And someone's like, "You guys are matching," and we got a picture of it, and it was really cool.
And then he said, "Do you want to do this forever?"
Yeah, it was basically like, so you're not seeing anybody, right? You know,
yeah, you got to put yourself out there.
Exactly. Fun fact: I actually gave her my number. I didn't ask for hers because I thought she would say no. And so, like, so I put
all
the ball.
All right, fellas, listen up.
Yeah. So
take notes.
I put the ball in her court completely. I was like, I don't want to face this rejection. This girl's really cool. I don't want her to say no, because we're talking about like Jack White. Side projects and stuff, you know, when I was off stage, and we were just like really hitting it off, like talking about that, like other punk music, like tattoos, and I was like, this girl's perfect, you know, and so yeah, and so so all that to say, it's I guess ever since I started doing the solo thing, just haven't stopped, and it's been really, really fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you've been doing this for a good while.
Yeah.
First album was 2017.
Yep.
Solo album. I mean, what do you feel like over the course of at least the last 6 years you've really learned and gotten better at and improved on?
I think the biggest thing I've learned, and I was talking about it with Roth Conrad, the Earbones guy.
Yes.
And we were both talking about how, you know, when you're making, you know, when you're working on something, and there's always that fear of, what if this sucks? You know, and it can be very paralyzing, you know, or it's like, what if this sucks? I don't know if it sucks. And the truth is, there's almost no way to know until you put it out there, because music and art, it's all subjective, you know, like it's all just about taste. And I think the thing that's kind of been the driving force of it is that, you know, I can spend as much time as I can on it, because a lot of what I do is a solo operation. You know, I do mix and do all that stuff on my own. And I've learned to just be okay with, like, you know, I'm going to get it to as far as I can in this moment. And I know that if I just keep practicing and keep doing this, I'll keep getting better. And so I've been okay with, like, if a song just wasn't able to get to where I wanted it to go, I'll just kind of be like, all right, I guess we'll see how it goes. And just being okay with, like, relinquishing that control, I guess, and that fear of, what if people think this is awful, you know? And I'm sure, like, there are songs like that I've put out that people are like, you know, this ain't it, you know, you know.
There's probably some that you feel that way about.
Absolutely. I listened to some old ones, and I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking.
Right.
You know, like,
of course.
But in the moment, I'm thinking, dude, this is so good, you know?
Yeah,
like,
you're thinking it's the best one you've ever done.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to end up on the Billboard charts. You
right.
know? Like,
exactly. Yeah, that's awesome. I definitely think that it's good to release some of that pressure.
Yeah.
And not feel like, oh, if I don't get this one right, it's over for me.
Yeah.
Because there's been many times where I feel the opposite. I feel like, oh, this is going to be the one that crushes, and then no one really is interested. So you never really know. Like, just do it for the love of the process, the creative process, and enjoy it, because once it's out, it's not in your hands anymore.
Exactly.
So do you have a song off the top of mind that you can say you still are, like, very proud of? And not that it wouldn't be a bunch of them, but maybe one that's, like, back in the day that you still listen to now, and you're like, yeah, if I wrote this now, I would still feel this good about it.
Back in the day, I think that's a little bit hard. I think nothing from Well, I think there's like maybe one song from each project that I put out. You know, in the first EP, Parking Lot Talk, which was my very first solo thing, and I still like the single from that, Beautiful. Still love it, and I'm like, that was such a cool song to just put out as the first one. You know, and even I played like an open mic a couple of weeks ago where I played another song from that EP, and it just kind of comes and goes of like what I'm really feeling, and I'm like, wow, this was like a really cool thing, you know. You know, talking about explicit songs, you know, I have a song called The Big Zebra from my second EP, and that was the first one I released when I moved here. Like I recorded it in Tennessee, and then when I moved here, I got the masters and I released it. And that one I used to love to open with it, you know, and it's like just really right in my range. And it was like the first time I wrote a song that I was actually writing for my voice, you know. That one's still really fun. I still mess around with that, but yeah, from those first couple like early projects, I think those are the ones that I really still really like, you know.
And what about now?
Now, man, I was thinking about this. So we have the, you know, thankfully Athens is a place where you're surrounded by opportunities where you really got to think about, you know, what songs you're going to stand by. You know, we have, for example, the Vic Chestnut songwriting.
Oh, sure.
Awards. Yeah. You know, and so a song that I submitted for the last one was my song Indie Girls. To this day, that is kind of like my white whale in terms of just like how I mixed that whole song. I don't know how I did it. It was so many accidents happen where I'm just clicking around on my computer and I'm like, whoa, like how did I do that? You know, and it sounds so good. I will stand by that song, like 100%. And one of the more recent singles, The Valley, which I wrote and constructed that song to submit for this contest.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I was really in my feelings when I wrote it, but I thought to myself, man, I'm going to compose and orchestrate this song in a way that I haven't before. I'm going to dial in like my dynamics in the composition of it. I'm going to try to make a catchy lead guitar line. I'm going to try to really work really hard on this because I want to be able to put this song and be happy that I'm submitting it to be reviewed by other people. And so, yeah, so those two songs as of late have been ones that I'm like really, really proud of.
Hell
absolutely, yeah.
Dude, I do love The Valley, but I think I like Sometimes even more. They feel like a brother sister release kind of thing, or single A, single B is probably a more normal way of saying that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sometimes I really love that one, and I love The Valley as well. But I think those newest ones are my favorite ones of yours so far.
Thank you.
I also love the intro track on Vignettes. Vignettes is the name of the song.
Yeah. No, that's it. Yeah. All those songs I really, really like. And yeah, I love it. And it makes me so happy that you like it.
Dude,
know?
Yeah.
I think the craziest thing about The Valley, and I realized this yesterday, it's been streamed at least once every day since I've released it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know who's streaming this stuff. Like, but I'm like, it makes me feel really good because I'm like, wow, I wrote this song to be consumed, you know? And so it feels really cool to get a response like that.
Dude, it's true. And I feel like in a world where it's easy to compare yourself to everyone else that's doing what you want to be doing, especially in a town that is filled with incredibly talented people that are hardworking, and it's very inspiring. But you know, the flip side of that can be jealousy, obviously. And you know, I think everybody has it to a degree. We're always looking up at somebody who we feel like is doing something we want to be doing and wish that we could be doing that. But at the end of the day, sometimes it's harder than other days to remember this, but we should just be happy if even one person wants to listen to your song.
Absolutely.
Because like that means somebody is taking time out of the day to choose to listen to what you've spent all this time creating. And, you know, at some point you might be like, oh, now 3 people are listening to my song every day. That's awesome. And then it might go back down to 1 and you might be bummed. Right. But it's like, you got to remember just the fact that even if 1 person wants to listen to your song, like, that's great. And if you had a great time making the music, that's really what matters anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I you know, when I release sometimes, like, you know, with any song, really, when you put a song out there, you don't really know how people are going to vibe with it. But after I put that out, I remember in that week, I drove to pick up Kayla from a yoga class, and one of her students actually came up to me and told me that song really spoke to him. And I'd never really met this guy.
Whoa.
And he's like, hey, I saw your wife like repost your song, and I listened to it. It really got me out of a bad headspace. And I was like, and that truly meant the world. I'm gonna ride that forever.
Yeah,
I'm gonna ride that high forever.
Yeah, I mean, that is why we do
That's
it in the
exactly
first place.
Absolutely.
Do it for me. I feel like I do it for myself first.
Yes.
And then when someone else shares in that good feeling or whatever you want to call it, that's just icing on the cake. And at some point, I mean, so far that hasn't happened to me much where somebody just tells me that, but like when that does happen, it's like, oh shit, that's right. People can listen to these songs. Like I forget that at any point somebody can choose to listen to this, and like maybe it affects them in some way. And that's really cool to think about it when it's like, oh, this wouldn't exist had I not taken the time that one night or, you know, a few weeks or whatever it is to make this song.
Absolutely. And you know what, you know, I'm going to go ahead and just give you some props that like your song Better Than You Blues, I want that on the record. I've told you this before, but I'm letting the viewers know, you know, that song, like it's so fun. It is so fun. I have it on a local music playlist, and man, when that comes on, I'm like, I love it. Absolutely love it. It's so fun. Yeah.
That is a fun one to play live, especially.
Yeah, you crush it. Your live show setup is really good.
Thank you, man.
I remember watching you play live for the first time at Bouvet, and my first thought was, okay, this setup is way too big for this small space. Like,
yeah, we had to make that work.
Yeah, and I'm like, Bouvet is not the venue for the operation you got. And then like when I saw you at Athens, I'm like, this is it. This is how your sound was meant to be experienced. And so
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
dude, Bouvet, that was a fun show though. It was kind of funny to have 5 of us on that stage and like feeling like I can't move at all.
Right.
And in a way that was like a fun challenge to try to still convey that, you know, a big energy, but not be able to move.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
It was kind of an interesting challenge. But for you, do you prefer studio time or like playing live? Because it seems like you do a pretty healthy bit of both.
I do prefer. I think it honestly depends on who I'm playing with. If I'm honest, like, you know, I like playing with a lot of people and everything, and it kind of depends on what the show is, what the structure of the show is. But most times, you know, I do prefer to just write in my room, in my little office area, and record because I've just kind of gotten into a good rhythm of just hitting record. Just like instinctively of like, all right, if I got a cool idea, I'm going to, you know, just mic my guitar up really quick, or I'm going to whip out my phone for a voice memo or like record a small video so I can remember this later. Or, you know, for the, you know, just kind of segueing into a plug a little bit, the December 2nd Songwriter Showcase.
That's right.
I am so excited for that because it's like with friends, you know? And
yeah, I got some questions about it.
Absolutely. And that was, and I first pitched the idea to shout out to Christian Sparaccio. We were hanging out one night, and I pitched the idea of doing like a show with some more like of my homies and everything. And because, you know, the thing is when you're like in a music town and you have friends that are also like doing the music thing, everybody kind of levels up at the same rate. And so then it just kind of becomes harder to kind of wrangle people to kind of do something together, you know?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. And so I was like, all right, man, well, let's try to do a show where, and, you know, we were talking and he was throwing out some names and, you know, one of the, like, you were obviously someone I asked and you know, Zach was a no-brainer because he and I have been friends for like 5 years. And I'm like, how have we never done something together? You know? And so I was just like, and so when his response, I gave him the details and I was like, you in? And he goes, hell yeah, I'm in. And I was like, let's freaking go, you know? And so
that's awesome.
Yeah. And so,
I know that I'm so bummed I couldn't do it. As I saw the lineup, I'm like, this is such a great list of lads here.
I know. I feel like the chemistry is going to be really cool because a writer's round would only work if people were actually, I think, in my view, I feel like a writer's round would only really work well if everybody kind of knew each other, you know, fairly well. And that way you could kind of have that organic chemistry with each other on stage. Now, granted, I don't know Jacob that well. I'm looking forward to getting to know him. Yeah, absolutely.
In a very intimate way.
Yeah, I'll be like, hey man, you know, who knows? Maybe I'll just like put my chair like right next to his. You know, just
you sit like opposite or reverse. You reverse the chair.
Yeah,
so you have your legs around it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That would be uncomfortable.
Sure,
but I say go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I'm thinking about just total surprise to the audience. My back will be turned to the audience and my chair will just be right in front of Jacob and I'll just be staring at him the entire
very experimental alt writers round.
Right, yeah.
But I'm here for it. So what have been some of the challenges of organizing this? Because I feel like something like this, any sort of event in your head, it makes a lot of sense. And then you have to plan everything out and you're like, oh, this is a little more work than I realized. Has that been the case with this?
With this particular show, a little bit because, and I think it's mostly because of like it's a venue I don't really know that much about. I've seen, you know, folks book it for all sorts of events, whether it be like improv comedy or like talk shows or things like that. And even yoga classes, dance rehearsals, all this stuff. Like, but I've never really put together a show where, you know, I'm essentially like the project manager of this thing. Yeah. Usually when you book a show, you know, you just kind of show up to the venue. They know what they're doing, you know, like they'll sound check you, you just tell them what your line's going to be, your line check, and they just kind of get everything ready. Whereas this one, I definitely feel like I'm been kind of just anticipating some of the other like things that we might need for it. So I think that's been the only challenge. But before even booking it, I wrote down basically this is what I'm going to need and to pull this off. And it just so happened that the workshop checked the boxes. You know, I think the only potential challenge that we'll have is that, and this isn't me sounding cocky or anything, but I think the only challenge is if it becomes too full, because it is like
it's a great problem to have.
It's a good problem. It's going to be in December, so it's going to be cold, and so I hope we'll be able to fit people inside. Yeah. You know, but that's like the only concern I really have. Like, I think because of the structure with it being a writer's round, you know, we're going to have like maybe one instrument each. I know Jacob plays guitar and he plays piano, so he might have two channels for his instruments. So I think those are kind of like the only challenge is being able to fit a lot of people, because we've all like released some good music pretty recently, you know, and so you know, and this will be a really cool, the way we're marketing it is like, you know, experience, you know, these songwriters that you know in a way that you haven't. Like what other scenario do you get to just like listen to one of your close friends like play their songs and then talk about the story in a very condensed way, you know? And so it'll be like in my view, I think it'll be really special. But in terms of challenges, like I think the only one will be like capacity. That's my only that's my only concern.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I said, that's a pretty good problem to have. But it's like a little sampler of different artists, and you get a little you know, you get this song, you get a little story, you get that song, you get a little story. It's a cool way to not only have those moments where an artist gets to showcase their own stuff, but you get like this exchange of artist ideas between the four of you guys, talking about your own songs, talking about each other's songs, which I think is going to be really cool for the audience as well as yourselves.
Yeah, it'll be really fun.
And when is it exactly?
December 2nd. It's a Saturday night.
Cool.
Also very strategic. Did not want to have to request off work for this thing because I booked the space from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. And so like doors open at 7, music starts at 8. We're going to play like 4 to 5 songs each. And so that'll be anywhere between an hour and a half to 2 hours. And
cool.
So it'll be a good length of time for sure.
That's awesome. December 2nd. Everybody go check it out.
Absolutely. It's on my Instagram at Michael Carnes Music on Instagram.
Give him a follow. Give him a listen on all the streaming services.
Absolutely.
I got a couple more questions about your writing and your recording process before we get into the last 5. The first one being, do you have a favorite part of the creative process, whether that's the writing section or maybe the recording part or even playing live?
You know, it's honestly like so part of the process, it inadvertently became part of the process, showing it to my wife.
Cool.
She, cause her ears are not like musician ears, you know, whatever she's experiencing when she listens to the song will most likely be what everybody else experiences.
Right. Yes.
And so I'll have like this idea or like a rough part of it. And, I'll be like, you know, be time to test it in the car and everything. And I'll be like, babe, you want to do a lap around the neighborhood with me? Like, so we could listen to this song, or, you know, we'll be driving to like Target or the grocery store or something. And I'll be like, hey, you want to hear the song I worked on? She'll be like, yeah, you know? And so that, to me, that's been my favorite part of the process, because, it could either be a punctuation where, all right, it's good to go, or it could tell me, or she'll be honest with me, like, you know, like, where she'll be honest, be like, you know, like, I just don't think that's it. And she's, you know, and she's told me before, like, if I've had an idea or a mixing decision I made just was not great, and so far it's benefited, you know, and so I would say that's probably my favorite part of it. Yeah,
that's a very sweet answer. That's so wholesome. I love that.
Yeah,
that's very true, though, to have somebody who isn't necessarily listening to it from this musician's perspective, because we're thinking about, you know, you can get your head lost in the clouds thinking about all these different mixing decisions or ways you can arrange the song, and you're thinking about so many things, whereas probably the average music listener who doesn't play music is just listening to enjoy it or not. And you get like a much more blunt reaction, which can be incredibly helpful. Like, I show my parents my songs sometimes, and they give the most, like, you know, just like normal feedback.
Yeah.
They're like, your vocals aren't loud enough. Or like, I can't hear what you're saying. And you're like, oh shit. Yeah. Okay. I guess so. I didn't think about that.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, we're thinking about however many things that could be going on within the song or not going on with the song that we want to add, or things we want to take away, and they're just listening to it from a purely
for the vibe.
Yeah, for the vibe of it.
For the vibe.
And if they're honest with you, that's great. And sometimes you can take it with a grain of salt, like, you know, shout out to my parents, love you guys. We don't have the same music taste necessarily, so it's like you can just take that the way you want, but it certainly is helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think the song that drove me the most crazy out of any of them was So Cool. Like,
oh really?
That drove me nuts for so many reasons. Like, I could not, because there are no 2 sections of that song that have the same arrangement. And I did that deliberately, which it's hard to, and I did that deliberately so there could always be something new in each section in the song that could kind of propel it forward, you know. And the problem with that, it is really hard to have an overall mix of a song when there's no 2 sections that are alike. because it's like you're trying to come up with just the perfect mix that's going to cater everything.
Right.
And on top of that, that was like the first time that I let someone else into the creative process with me, where shout out to Ian White, from Jack and Jealous. Like
out.
he, it started off as an idea to kind of, dust off like some of the like stuff I had going on at like post album release. And I posted on Instagram, and Ian, he is such a great hype guy to have in your corner. And he was like, sounds like it could use like an Ian White track and everything. And I was like, all right. And the thing
sounds like it could use a little bit of me.
Yeah, I know. And the thing is, Ian's he's an ace,
He's so good on guitar, dude.
And he plays the same guitar that Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day plays.
And there you go.
And he and I have some similar music tastes, and so it was easy to say yes to him, to hop on the track, but to make it worth his time afterwards to make this song sound good from a mixing perspective was like nerve-wracking. And so that song drove me nuts. And there were times where, circling it back to like letting Kayla listen to it, I think I have like 15 different mixes and masters of that song. And every time Kayla was just like, babe, I just don't know. I don't really know the difference between these other ones. And I'm like, oh, you don't hear it here? No, listen to this part. And she's like, it doesn't sound that much different than this other part.
Right.
And eventually, the mix that exists, the release that it exists now, obviously is like the one that I put out, but I eventually just had to just let it go.
Yes.
And then, got good feedback from folks, and I was like, all right, I guess this is the one, I guess that mix just was the one,
Guess it just was.
Yeah. So all that worrying was for nothing, I guess.
That's so funny, dude. Yeah. You can get caught up in I got to turn the snare down 1 decibel, but then, the banjo needs to have like the slightest chorus effect on it. And then you're just lost.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you just keep going and going, and somebody's got to pull you out of it every once in a while.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, dude, let's take this over to the last 5.
Sure.
If that's cool with you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we're going to do 5 quick questions from this bowl here.
Oh, let's go.
Shuffle up these little pieces of paper and just answer honestly.
All right.
There you go.
Do the best I can.
Number 1.
Number one. Musical hot take.
Starting off strong.
Oh my. All right. So full disclaimer, these opinions are my own. Parker does not.
I might endorse them.
He
I don't know. We'll find out.
But whatever my opinion is, might not accurately represent your thoughts. So like, no matter what I say. Musical hot take. So I do have like my own opinions on like certain like popular artists and everything, but that stuff's really tired, and so like I won't say anything about like.
You can say something.
No, I don't want to say anything like, because I mean like I got so many. That's the thing.
Who?
Dude,
call them out.
Billie Eilish.
Billie Eilish. Whoa.
Yeah. So listen, gang. So Billie Eilish. So maybe I'm just like a cranky old 30-year-old and I just don't get it. But like, I don't think she's good. I just think she's different, and different doesn't always mean good. And that's just my opinion. That's it.
What do you not like? Is it the whisper vocals?
Yeah, it's like the whisper vocals. I mean, granted, like, Phineas is doing some cool stuff, mixing and stuff. Like, he released like, I think the project, like the Logic project or the Pro Tools project to one of their songs. And I thought like some of the stuff he did was like really sick. And those are some things that I try to implement in my own process. But like, it's just, it might not just be for me. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't get it. I don't like it. It's all right in my opinion, but I think because it's, when she first came out on the scene, I think it was so different from most indie girl music, and so I think that's probably why she popped off, which is fine, like by all means. Like I feel like the more I talk, You know,
this is awesome.
I just harbored so much. Not and again,
you were so sweet this whole interview, and now you're like, come at me, Billy. Let's go.
But I think that's my musical hot take.
That's a big one, dude. I think that's great. Some people try to like not ruffle any feathers.
No, dude. Here's the thing. Okay, like I think also like I think the whole like not ruffling feathers is very much counter. Like I brought in a punk rock record that's against like George Bush's presidency. You know, like
yeah, dude. Low key, I forget that because it's so popular that you just forget that it you know does have some very overtly political themes. Right.
You know, the first line in the whole thing is "Don't want to be an American idiot," and then it therefore explains what that looks like. You know, and so like I generally don't have a problem with like ruffling feathers. That's just how I feel. But like but with this Billie Eilish thing, that is an opinion I've held. I also think, man, I don't know how this can. I think the new Olivia Rodrigo album's really overrated.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I actually have not listened to it, but
it's just like again, I'm not the target audience for it, obviously. Yeah. And so I just don't get it. Yeah.
I need to give it a listen so I can have like an informed opinion. But what I've heard from her is great, you know, the hits. But I just, for whatever reason, I have a weird thing about if a bunch of people like are constantly talking about it, I don't want to listen to it or watch it. Like Stranger Things, which I eventually did watch, but like I'm always late to the biggest things because I get so annoyed hearing about it all the time that I don't want to watch it or listen to it. And then I come back to it later once like all the hype has died down because it's just like less pressure for whatever reason. I don't know. But I was kind of the same way with Billie Eilish as well. Like I didn't listen to her really until her second album. Right. And I liked it, but I never really went back to it. So we don't share quite the same fervor for Billie Eilish, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Maybe I think the world's better off for it.
Like,
you know, but
let's see what question number 2 is.
Question number 2. Song I wish I wrote. Man. Aside from anything on this album, because I love it so much. Song I wish I wrote, probably. I really liked anything from the Can't Love Can't Hurt album by Augustana.
Oh wow, Augustana,
dude,
Boston.
Yeah, so there was that album, All the Stars and Boulevards, with Boston on it, and then they're like, let's take this into a more like indie, dusty sound kind of thing, and then they came out with Can't Love Can't Hurt. I think the song I wish I wrote was probably Sweet and Low from that. That song is really, really cool, and I don't know, it's just everything about it. I think it's just really neat. It's just like the way it was. The vocals, the verses were tracked compared to the choruses of the song, where like they had the guys gain up like so high on the verses, where he's just kind of sort of whispering. He was doing the Billie Eilish thing before Billie Eilish. I'm just kidding.
Take that, Billie.
Yeah, no, but I think that song was just really cool, and that's like definitely something like that whole album is definitely something I like to listen to all the way through every now and then.
I've never listened to a song of theirs other than Boston.
Oh, dude, there's so much more.
I'm sure.
I'll just send you stuff after
this.
Yeah.
Please do. Yeah, you did a while back, and I was very grateful you sent me a bunch of new tunes.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea who Rat Boys were until you sent them to me, and I was like, wait, this is really sick.
Yeah, dude. Rat Boys, The Printer's Devil, like that whole album. Like,
and they just put out a new one.
Yeah, they did.
Is it good?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I haven't listened to the new
I really
album.
like them. I think folks are sleeping on them so much. Like, they're really, really good. Yeah.
Like I had never heard of them until you sent them to me. And then all of a sudden I started seeing other people talk about them. I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
I had a thought when you're like, the question was a song you wish you wrote. Do you know the Microphones?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. I'm going to send you the Microphones.
Okay, cool.
Because I think his name is Phil Ephraim.
Okay.
Who has done... that was his really big project, was the Microphones. But I feel like the other one he did, I'm forgetting what it's called, but the album's called A Crow Looked at Me.
Oh, cool.
And it's very sad. Super
awesome. Let's go.
Duper sad.
Let's go. We're in the winter time. It's time to be sad.
Yeah. And the Microphones like big album, I'm pretty sure it came out on 9/11, which to add to the lore of it, you know. But that album is like one of Rate Your Music's like highest rated albums. It's very like music nerd core, but I've never really listened to the whole thing and like fell in love with it the way everybody else does, but there's a lot of really cool stuff going on. It's very like field recording and like really crazy interesting sounds, but it does have this like acoustic emo thing to it, but with way crazy experimentation. So
I'm into it.
I think that would definitely be up your alley.
Sign me up, man. I'm there.
I'll send it over to you.
I'm already there.
Let's see what question number 3 is.
2 artists that I want to see collab. Like in what way, you think?
It could be artist producer. It could be 2 artists, you know, doing a duet or a feature situation.
Okay, so all right. I really want. It's crazy because there were some like local bands that came up that I really wanted to see.
Yeah, you can shout out some local peeps.
But and then there are like other really big ones. I think something that I think would be really, really cool. Man, I don't know. That's really hard. 2 artists I want to see collab. I think this is really hard. This is killing me, Parker.
I know.
Dead air.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. It's okay. They'll hang in there.
Yeah. Let's see. I really want to see. This is really hard. Here.
My answer for this, typically, just as an example, for this year, I really love the JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown collab. Because I just love the way like Peggy produces hip hop tunes. And like the beats are insane. And then their like chemistry is so good together. Like 2 people with really great chemistry where it just works and you don't have to force it, I think is what really makes a great collaboration between artists, maybe producers, a different situation, you know?
Yeah. Well, if I'm thinking, because first when I read this question, I'm thinking of like who are artists that have collabed that I really enjoyed, and what was the last one? Like, I really liked when Chester Bennington from Linkin Park, when he passed away, the rest of the band decided to do a tribute concert, you know, in his memory. And something that I did not think would work so well is that the lead singer from Sum 41, you know, who did In Too Deep, Fat Lip and stuff, like he came out and sang some Linkin Park songs, and it was like it fit like a glove. And I was like, this is so cool. And I know that like something like that would never happen again, but that would be really cool because it's like that singer, like I can't remember his name, but like he happens to bring like an energy comparable, I think, to Chester's vocals. But like, I think that collab was really cool. But if I could think of something that I would like to see, I really want to see, like, one of the first things that popped in my head was like Noel Gallagher, you know, the guy from Oasis. Like, I really want him to collab with like some other indie thing. Like, I don't know. It's like something that would be really sick. I think because anytime
I feel like he'd be too up his own ass.
I know,
to make
man.
that happen.
Well, I tell you, one time I saw this talk show music thing where it was like the Gorillas, and you know, it's like kind of panning through the band as they're kind of doing their thing, and who's on lead guitar? Noel Gallagher. And I was like, and they didn't acknowledge it at all in the show. And I'm thinking, like, I was like, that's Noel Gallagher playing with the Gorillas, you know? And so like, I thought that was crazy. And so I like to see him like do something really neat. I don't know. There's just so many out there. But it's just but something that I think would be really cool if I could see a collab. So I have a friend in town His name's Brandon Steinhauer. Spite Hound.
He's coming on the podcast tomorrow morning.
No way,
yep,
dude.
Literally tomorrow morning.
That's so sick, dude. He is such a sweet guy. Such a sweet guy.
I love the EP that he just put out.
I know, and then it like got put on Flagpole and stuff. Like, and I thought that was so sick. I was like, "Dog, how'd you do that?" He goes, "I have no idea." So like, it was really funny. Yeah, so that's awesome. But I would love to see him do something, I guess, with me. Like, I would love to co-write something with him, like, because I really like a lot of his songwriting instincts and stuff, and I really want to, I don't know, I would love to write like a folky tune with him or something. Like, that would be really fun. So I guess that would be my answer. Something I want to see, probably myself and him.
That's a great answer. I don't know how nobody has said that yet.
Yeah,
like,
and we're dogs.
I want to see somebody else awesome playing with me.
Yeah, and we're both buddies too. Like, he's super talented. Again, I really like the way he writes his songs, and I would love to do something with him. We're actually like, I've pitched the idea of actually like recording like a live session of his and everything, because I would love to get into like the videography part of like for artists. But I was like, I never done it before, and so like I was like, hey dog, you want to do it sometime? He goes, yeah. So I need to follow up. So
totally.
So Brandon, if you're listening, like, the ball's in my court, and I just need to follow up.
I'll pass on the message tomorrow. When I see him.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, let's see what question number 4 is. We're on 4.
Yeah. Dream 3-band bill. Oh my gosh. All right.
Yep. 3 bands you want to see at the same night.
The same night. I would like to see. So it wouldn't be. Actually, no. I would love to see Slaughter Beach Dog. I would love that. I love that band. Have you heard? Listened to them?
No, I know Tommy loves them. I know there's a lot of people that really love them, but it's more emo, right?
Sort of, like sort of emo.
Maybe not.
I almost brought a modern baseball record to this. Yeah, it was between.
That's a whole train I just missed almost completely.
Yeah, but I would like to see like Slaughter Beach Dog do something with like, I don't know, like I'm trying to think of like any other like, with like Slaughter Beach Dog with maybe like Tiny Moving Parts. I love them, and Rat Boys. Dude, that'd be so sick. Oh my gosh, I'm just thinking about it right now. That'd be so sick.
There's the 3.
Those 3, like just a bunch of like indie rockers, just like, oh man, and like, I love it.
What was the first one?
Oh yeah, so Slaughter Beach Dog, Tiny Moving Parts, and Rat Boys.
Cool. Yeah. Slaughter Beach Dog's probably the biggest of those 3, would you say?
I would say it's between them and Tiny Moving Parts.
Okay.
Because Tiny Moving Parts is definitely like in the Midwest punk scene kind of thing. They kind of occupy the same, I guess, fan base that like Modern Baseball did.
Okay.
But like Slaughter Beach Dog is definitely like a departure from like the Midwest thing, because like their early stuff, the Slaughter Beach Dog, definitely sounds like some like a lot of like leftover modern baseball songs that just never got written and stuff. Like their song, like I think Mallrat Semi-Annual is like so sick, but it sounds like a modern baseball song.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I could go into a whole thing about Modern Baseball, Slaughter Beach, like the lore of everything.
Yeah, I feel so bad because like that, you might as well speak in a different language. I really totally missed every emo band for the most part. Like none of them, I never caught any of them, I don't think. I like kind of emo adjacent stuff, I guess, like, but usually straight up emo, straight up pop punk. Like pop punk and emo just never had that phase, and I feel like it's not if it didn't happen for me then, it's not happening now. But I do like some stuff that is kind of adjacent to it. Well,
the cool thing about punk music, and this is like, and I don't know if this is a hot take and should have been for the first question or not, but I 100% stand by what I'm about to say, and it's every punk song will sound just as good on an acoustic guitar, and it's like it's a different vibe for sure, but it still sounds like really cool. So maybe the gateway to punk for you, Parker, might not be to just jump right into the deep end and listen to like, I don't know, Celebration Rock by Japan Droids. Like
that album, though,
that's sick. That's a sick album.
I love House That Heaven Built.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
See, to me, that's not pop punk. That's like
interesting.
But I don't know. I really only know that song, and one other one from that album.
It's like Fire's Highway or something.
Yes,
yeah.
And really okay, now that I hear like that kind of whiny vocal, but there's something about the music, at least of House That Heaven Built, that feels like more garage rock than it does pop punk to me.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Like, I think like pop punk, like not to sound like pretentious or anything, it is almost like a state of mind kind of thing. Like
it's really a lifestyle.
Yeah, it's really a lifestyle. Like if you like get super energized and it does not sound that pretty, you know, then it's like it's probably punk music, you know.
Yeah.
And because it is really energetic. Like House That Heaven Built, so much of it is just straight up just classic punk. Like,
I forgot how good that song is.
I love that song. And it's like, and it's so formulaically just a quintessential punk rock song. It might not be pop punk, but is 100% like punk rock, I would say. Like, yeah.
I just think the drums on that to me don't sound like a pop punk record.
Oh my god.
They sound like just like this really insane, like beautiful rock, like garage rock, almost like childlike in a way, where it's not like, to me pop punk is like the drums are so super clean in a way where like the double bass is perfect, everything is perfect, but that's almost like that song, The House That Heaven Built, feels kind of sloppy but in a intentional way.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a lot of like a old school, like maybe like 90s, like 80s, like punk stuff, where it's like, cause like pop punk, it's like, cause I feel like pop punk is kind of divided into two different camps. There's like, you got like the Green Day pop punk, you know, which might sound a little bit more rock and roll, or like in some cases maybe garage, right? But then like you get like
sorry for the train, everyone.
Oh no, it's good.
I always feel like I have to apologize.
I was just thinking, I was like, man, am I gonna get the train today?
You're like, yep,
yeah,
always,
let's go.
Always the train.
But I feel like, and then you have like the Blink 182s and the All Time Lows pop punk stuff. And then of course you got your subgenres like the Midwest punk, like Tiny Moving Parts, or like the first Gaslight Anthem album, and you know, and other like more West Coasty sounding things like Japan Droids, you know, but it's like which I don't even think they're from. I think they're Canadian now that I think about it. I think so. Like but yeah, and so you have those two camps, but it's so funny that you say like the drums don't sound like dude, to me that is like, for me it's almost like quintessential, like when they first come in, like the
it's just the snare,
just
for
the
a while.
snare, like, and then it's like and then it's just like the really fast like drums feels like, where it's like just the highs, like and it's like, oh, it's so good. To me it's like
funny.
I love it. Yeah, it's funny.
I'll have to go listen to the rest of that album because I really only know that and Fire's Highway.
Oh man,
and I used to listen to that like junior year of high school.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
they came out with an album after that. I think it's called Near to the Wild Heart of Life. I think it's a long title. Very also
sounds like it.
Also very like punk.
That
like
is kind of a very
punk
thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Last question here with Michael Carnes.
Last one. Best album covers. Man, I got a few. Aside from this one, I think this one's sick as hell.
It's pretty iconic.
It's pretty sick. Yeah, exactly. It's pretty
You're
sick
so
as hell.
used to seeing it, like you don't think about it that much anymore. But I remember seeing that for the first time when it came out and being like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
A heart grenade.
Exactly. Like you wouldn't even have to like have the Green Day American Idiot part of it. Just like if someone just saw the heart-shaped hand grenade, you'd be like, oh yeah. Like, and so I feel like that one's like a pretty good one, like that I really like. I think another one that I think looks kind of badass is the Killers Battleborn like album cover.
Which one's that?
It's that album had a Miss Atomic Bomb, I guess kind of like the partner of Mr. Brightside kind of thing. But that album, it has like a vintage car running head on into like a black stallion on a highway, and like with like, and it has like, it looks very vintage the way the art is, but it looks so cool, and I'm like, man, that's a really cool album cover because it looks kind of fun.
I always liked their first album cover.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever, the
Hot Fuss. Yeah.
I just thought that cover of the buildings was really cool.
Yeah, that one's really cool. I really like, I think any of the modern baseball album covers, they always seem really cool because they use, the first two albums, they use like family photos for them. And it's like, it seemed like really special, you know? And so I like that vibe, but you know, I think most like punk stuff, because the thing I love about just like punk rock album covers, it's either something that's like, that seems like it's super curated, or like a picture from your phone. And
right.
And I just kind of like that, because it's like, it's a really interesting way of like, no matter how much time you spend on something, like it only has as much meaning as you give it. And I just kind of love that.
That's an interesting point. That's true. Yeah. You could put all the intention in the world behind a photo, but someone else is going to receive it whatever way they want to receive it.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's funny. I didn't think about that. I did think about this question the other night, just because, I don't know, this is a question for me where whenever it comes up, I have no answer, but when I'm not thinking about it, I do have an answer.
Okay.
And it hit me the other night. I was like, this album cover rules, even though I don't necessarily listen to the album a lot. And it's Blitz by what is that band? Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The egg, and it's kind of like this with it's just she's squeezing the egg and the yolk's popping out perfectly.
Dude, that's so sick.
Yeah, that album cover is like unreal, and I really love the first song on that album and maybe one or two more. Like, I don't love the album itself as much as I love the album cover.
Yeah.
I just think it's such a cool like moment that they captured, and kind of like this, it's just like, I don't know, it's very strong. It's a strong image.
Yeah, and it's like in some ways it's like a snapshot in time, you know, like it's, you know, I think the cool thing about this album, amongst so many other things, is that it really does encapsulate like an era of not just like, I think, music, but also like the social consciousness of like the United States at the time. Exactly. And it's so rare to have like a piece of art that you look of and, you know, and you think, I know exactly where that came from, you know? And so, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Michael Carnes, that's been our time. On that note,
man, I know.
Thank you for coming on, brother.
Thanks, man.
It's been a long time coming. Everybody needs to listen to your newest two singles, Sometimes and The Valley, which are out now. And be on the lookout for the Writers Round, which is December 2nd, Saturday. Where is it in Athens?
The Workshop.
The Workshop.
You could look it up. Look up the venue at work.shop. Athens, I think, is the Instagram, but you could just follow me on Instagram and I tag them. And
follow Michael Carnes on Instagram.
And the address is on the flyer. Also, my Earbones release is getting my Earbones session, the streaming version, is getting released, I think, December 8th for Best Wishes. So
nice.
It's like
1 week after mine.
Yeah.
Mine's December 1st.
Let's go. Let's go.
It'll be a great week for music, everybody.
I know, dude. It's crazy. I was telling you know, Jordan Goldberg, the photographer.
Yes, yeah.
I was telling him, I was like, you know, dude, I feel like I've just been like queuing things up and just kind of just haven't stopped going. And so I think after this year, I'm just going to kind of chill out for a little bit.
Nothing wrong with that.
Doing all this on top of a full-time job.
True. Yes. Yeah. Low key. Literally. We didn't even talk about the fact that you work 9 to 5.
I know, which it's crazy. It's crazy to do this all on top of a full-time job and then like the photography thing. But yeah.
But it just shows how much you enjoy it.
Absolutely. It's like it makes the 9 to 5 worth it.
Absolutely.
100%.
Well, Michael, thank you again for coming on, brother. It's been
awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you again for tuning into the newest episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. Remember, not only can you listen to the episodes on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, but you can also watch the episodes on my YouTube channel, which is linked in the description below. And on that note, I'll see you guys next time.
Defines all the ruins that